So howdy there, folks. Excel Chapter 1 Guided Project is what's on the agenda for today. All right. Apparently, I've lost my window. Okay, so I lost my window, but I've got to go ahead and do my pitch for Symbaloo again, that I have all my little things, and I just click on eCampus. There it comes, my sweet little eCampus. I really strongly urge you to go ahead and get Symbaloo and get all your shortcuts put on it. And in that first Getting Started unit, there is a link to a video to show you how to do it. So I go to this course, I go to Content, and I want Excel Chapter 1, Unit 6, Excel Chapter 1, Intro to Excel, and I go to the checklist, and I scroll down to the guided project, and the video which you're watching is here through the magic of technology, and I click on the guided project, download materials, download, because you know that I don't like to download the zipped file because I prefer just to work from the open both of those over on the other window. Work from the downloads directory is what I prefer to do. So I have those just the opposite of the way that I want them. I want my file here and my directions on my other monitor. And if you have two monitors, you are golden because you can do the same thing that I'm doing here. So this says that you are the division manager for a regional hearing aid company in Cheyenne, Wyoming. Your sales managers travel frequently to some offices in the western region, and you need to create a travel expense report for your managers to use to record their budgeted and actual expenses for their travel reports. This draft contains a title, input areas, and a detailed expense area. So it wants us on instruction number 1 to download and open the file. Number 2 says merge and center the travel expense report title in the range A1 to E1. So I'm going to select A1 to E1, and I'm going to full screen this, and then I'm going to zoom so that you can see a little bit better. And then I'm going to merge and center button right there. So you see what it did. It merged those together and it centered it at the same time. So in Word, when we did tables, we merged them, but we didn't have a merge and center button. So that's a slight difference here in Excel. It's all called the same thing, merging and center, which is really nice that the words are all the same. In cell E5, we want to enter a formula that calculates the number of days between the return date and the departure date. Now it's giving you a clue that it wants them between the return date and the departure date. So in cell E5, now I can click right here and go E5. That might not seem like such a big deal whenever you have something this small, but if you're working with a great big one and you know exactly where you want to and you want to go back and forth, that can be pretty huge. Okay, number of nights. Now, dates are actually numbers, so we can perform math with them, and they actually convert to a number, so the date is actually a format of a number, and if we change this to number, I can prove it to you. Okay, it says date. If I change it to number, look at that. That's why we can do math, because when I subtract this from this, I get 4. Now I'm going to put it back to date. That is the magic of how Excel does it. So I do equal, and then I just click here, and it puts that in, minus, and click here. And I get 4, because, like I showed you, that's what you would actually get with the numbers that are behind the date. So it's cool beans. So our next instruction says in cell B12, we want to enter a formula to calculate the amount budgeted for mileage to and from the airport. It's based on the mileage rate and the round trip miles to the airport. So it says I want this in B12. So I can just type B12, and then I know I'm not going to get B11. There we go, mileage to and from the airport. You can see my little green circle all around that B12. Equals, formula always starts with equals. Now you can type up here. You know, you can click up here and you can type up here. In this case, since I had this zoomed in, this is actually bigger to be able to see it. So we've got mileage to and from the airport, and we have, oh, round trip miles. That's the mileage rate and the round trip miles. And this wants us to get the amount. So it equals round trip miles times the amount, and it gives us 12. And it doesn't tell us to format that for currency yet. So in cell B13, there we go, B13, airport parking, it wants to enter a formula to calculate the amount budgeted for airport parking. Use the airport daily rate and the number of total travel days traveling. It's the number of nights plus 1 to include both the departure and return dates. So number of nights. So equals this plus 1 times the nightly rate. Airport parking daily rate. Okay, now let's look at this. $13. 5 nights, $9 each. What's wrong with this picture? That is not the right value. Order of operations is going to be critical, but it's also critical that you bring your brain with you and stop and think about what you're doing. I've got 5 nights times $9 a night, and I know that's not $13. So if I click up here, it gets it back. I need to add these together before I multiply, because the order of operations tells me that the multiplication is going to be done before the addition, unless I put in parentheses, which is the P of PEMDAS, parentheses, multiplication. There we go. Now let's see what we get. We get $45, which is 9 times 5, which is perfect. All right, that was instruction number 4. Now in B17, so B17 right here, hotel accommodations. We want to enter a formula, calculate the amount budgeted for hotel accommodations. This is based on the number of nights, the hotel rate per night, and the hotel tax rate. In parentheses, add the hotel tax rate to 1 to equal 118%. Before multiplying. You have to do this exactly the way it wants it, or it is going to deduct. So it tells you that in parentheses you need to add the tax rate, which is 18% plus 1, close parentheses, times the rate per night. And this is point and click. I point and it click and it puts it in there. So times the number of nights. Again, bring your brain to work with you. We did part of it, but we didn't do it. Times the number of nights. So I put my cursor back up there, and it times the number of nights. That makes not a lot of sense. Oh, because I hit plus E5 instead of times. Look at that. Times. Bring your brain to work. There we go. $700 makes a whole lot more sense. All right, now we want to enter a formula that calculates the budgeted amount for meals. It's the amount based on the daily meal allowance plus total travel days, which is a number of nights plus 1. Meals equals, in parentheses, 1 plus number of nights times the daily meal allowance. And the daily meal allowance is $65. Dude, that's a lot of money. Times 65. There we go. $325 budgeted for meals. If you get a good job and you're traveling, they do pay for a lot for you. And you don't have to eat off McDonald's value menus. But if you don't continue with your education and you end up working at McDonald's, you can also get a discount on food, but it's not quite as much fun. All right, now we want a formula in cell D12 to enter a formula to calculate the difference between actual and budget. So D12, D12, and notice it says D12, so I could have typed D12 in there and hit enter. Over or under. So the difference between actual and budget, so that's actual minus budget. So equals actual minus budget. Enter. And after I do that, that's 0. That makes perfect sense. Then when I hover over this green dot in the lower right-hand corner, which is called the fill handle, it copies the formula down. And all of the negatives mean that we went under budget, and the positives are over budget. Delete the formula from D15. That would be here. In cell E12, we want to enter a formula to calculate the percent of budget by dividing the actual expense by the budget to indicate the percent of the budgeted amount that was used. So we're dividing the actual expense by the budget expense. So equals actual divided by budget. And 1 means that it was 1%. We want to delete again here and copy the formula, which I just did, and delete the 1 there. And now we want to insert a new row and type in 19. So I'm going to click here. I'm going to right click and go insert. It's very easy. Type other, and we're going to bold the label. I'm going to highlight, Control B. I'm going to pause this for a second and get a drink. So you don't know it, but it's December 16th, and this big rain just blew through, and it's suddenly gotten cold, and I think that there was something in the air that's just irritating me, and I apologize for that. Now, bold the label. We did that. Indent twice the labels in range A12 to A14. So A12 to A14. There's an indent button. And, oh, that's decimal places. That's not indent. So here we go. We have, I'm waiting for the tooltip. Well, this is going to be increase. 1, 2, indent twice. A lot of people will get that wrong because they'll only indent it once, but it wants it to be indented twice. And that's because these are the categories under. Now it said to A18 and A20. A18. There we go. Twice. 1, 2, and A20. We want to apply the accounting number format to B12 to D12. B12. Oh, B12 to D12. And this is accounting number format. And B21 to D21. B21 to D21. Accounting. Comma style to from B13 to D20. So B13 to D20. Comma style. Percent style with 1 decimal place to, from E12 to E20. So E12 to E20. Percent style. ensure that comma style is applied to the range B20 to D20, B20 to D20, B20 to D20, comma style. Use the underline button to underline the range B20 to D20. Do not use the border feature. Underline. Okay. Select the range A10 to E21, A10 to E21, and select thick box border. Borders, font here, and thick outside border. There we go. Apply the bad cell style to D21 because the trip went over budget to D21. And if you look up here, we have styles, and we want to select bad. Red with pink background. Now we want to select the range A10 to E21 and apply thick outside borders. A10, oh, I just did that. Select A10 to E10 and apply blue-gray, A10 to E10. And that would be our titles, and it wants blue-gray text 2 lighter fill color. Okay, blue-gray. That's blue, blue accent, blue-gray text 2, lighter 80%, lighter 40%, lighter 60%, lighter 80%. There we go. When I click off of it, you can see that color. Oh, center alignment and wrap text. So, center and wrap. Center, wrap. Set of 1.5 inch top margins. Okay, we're going to go to the page layout and page setup because that is the dialog box that has everything in it that I like. Now you have the little pop out here so that I can pop out the whole dialog box. So it wanted a 1.5 inch top margin. I click in here and just highlight. I don't have to hit backspace, 1.5 tab. And then it wants to center, oh, I already did that, I'm sorry. Center the data horizontally on the page. So horizontally center it on the page. And then it wants us to apply a footer, insert a footer with the text Exploring Series on the left side. So I'm going to go to Custom Footer on the left side, Exploring Series. In the center section, I'm going to put the sheet name code. So that's going to be file name, and that's sheet name code. And the file name code on the right side. So just click over here and put the file name on the right side, and OK, and OK. And you can't see those results unless you go to File, Print, and you'll see that it centered it horizontally. There is our footer, and there is our finished product of our nice little expense report. So you could go in here, type in your actual expenses, and it would automatically calculate everything for you.